Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We are about to begin. We still have a few people in the waiting room and should start in just a minute. Thank you. Okay, thank you all for joining us today. Helen, next slide, please. It's nice to see everyone. I hope everyone had a nice summer break. I'm Doreen Tannenbaum. I am the Strategic Initiatives and Communications Manager with Procurement Services. And welcome to our session on UCIBuy and PALCard exceptions. I apologize in advance for my voice. I'm getting over a cold. Today, we're going to be going over our end-to-end procurement process updates as well. Our presentation is going to be followed with questions and answers, so please hold those until the end. The recording of today's session will be sent out via email, and it's also available on our procurement services website by the end of next week. Our slide deck is actually available now, and I'll drop it into the chat if you didn't see it in your calendar invite yet. Next slide, please. We are excited to announce that last month we transitioned to ServiceNow platform for managing all help desk support. Sorry, I am just adding that to the chat. All right, and all of our inquiries. We have already noticed a faster and more efficient service, so we're really thrilled that it's working well. You can find a link to open a ticket at the bottom or top of every page on our website. Next slide, please. Email sent to procurement, PALCard, UCIBuy contracts, and equipment management will now generate a new ticket in the ServiceNow system. However, we really prefer that you use that link to open a new ticket and select the appropriate category from the drop-down menus. Next slide, please. So if you can see here, you're able to click on the high-value strategic sourcing tab and then select from an array of choices to guide you through the request and guide it to the appropriate person on our team. So again, we ask you to refrain from emailing the individuals for assistance and instead open a ticket and select from the choices on the screen. Next slide, please. All of our training sessions are recorded and published on our website under the training sessions. Next slide, please. We've provided step-by-step training guides that take you through requisitions, purchase orders, capital assets, as well as UCIBuy and PALCards. And then if you'd like to request a training session for yourself or your team, please open up a ServiceNow ticket. We conduct these via Zoom and record them for you to refer back to the session in the future. Next slide, please. We added weekly virtual office hours last December, and we host them on Tuesdays from 9 to 10. For the summer, we've been updating our meeting schedule to bi-weekly on Tuesdays. Please join us with any questions you have about requisitions, purchase orders, agreements, policies, or anything else you need clarification on. We do those live, so come with your questions. We regularly update our FAQs on our website based on the questions that we receive during these office hours. So make sure you also, if you ever run into any issues, just click on the FAQs on the top of our website. And please email me for the calendar invite if you're interested in attending. My email is doreen.tannenbaum@uci.edu. I'm going to add a quick poll on our office hours and see if you've ever attended. And if you prefer that we move back to our weekly or keep our biweekly sessions. So give me one sec and I will start that poll. And can everyone see that? Wonderful. I see results coming in. Thank you. I'll give it about a minute or so.
And again, just to re-emphasize what Doreen was saying, we had gone to bi-weekly during the summer months. Come fall, we figured we will ask the actual end users and our customers their preference for going back to weekly or keeping that bi-weekly schedule.
Great. Can everyone see the results there? So I see a lot of the vast majority have not attended. So please, if you have time on Tuesdays, please join us if you can. It seems like we will probably keep these bi-weekly, but we will let you know. Again, if you'd like an invitation, please send me an email and I'm happy to share that with you. I'm now going to turn it over to Snehalbhat.
Thank you, Doreen. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedules to come and attend this training sessions. Just to re-emphasize what Doreen was saying, if you 68% of you have not attended or come to any of our office hours, not only do we ask and answer questions during that office hour, but we also many times go over some of the tools and tricks and techniques that may be beneficial to the end users. So don't just think that, oh, yeah, I don't have any questions, so I don't need to attend, because we do go over some of the new things that we may have introduced, or when people have questions, we try to share with everybody who is on that call some of the features that we may have in the system or on our website that people may not be familiar with. So we do spend the time to go over different aspects of our website and the various functionality during that hour. So, please take advantage of that and see if you can spare the time to attend those office hours. Coming back to the reason why we actually have the office hours and we are having these training sessions and everything is really to make sure that everybody who is involved with procurement and purchasing has a very good understanding that it is everybody's responsibility as an employee of the public university that you adhere to and follow all the regulations, policies, and compliance requirements. So that's one of the key things that we all have to remember, that it's not just central procurement that is responsible for the purchasing activities and making sure that we are in compliance, but it is the responsibility of each and every employee to meet with these requirements. Here's a long list of compliance that we are all required to adhere to. Many of you probably are familiar with these requirements because you probably are engaged in the purchasing and procurement function. And if you have not complied with it, I'm sure one of the buyers from central procurement has come back to you and asked you to comply with it. So, please take the time if you are new to the role of a buyer in your departments. We strongly encourage you to go through all these policies. The US 43 is the UC system-wide procurement policy. 707-10 is the UCI policy. 701-23 is actually the sales and service policy. So if you're engaged in any of those activities, you need to know that policy. And then, of course, being a California Public University, we have to adhere to the California Public Contracts Code, which requires us to competitively bid anything that's over $100,000 in any year spent. A uniform guidance is actually a federal requirement. So if you're buying anything on federal funds, you're required to have knowledge and understanding of complying with uniform guidance. Small business first is a UC policy, encouraging us to utilize small and diverse businesses to the extent possible, because there also we have a commitment to the state that we will get to a 25% of our spend on small and diverse businesses by 2025. So we really only have a year to get there. We actually are doing quite well with the efforts and emphasis from everybody from the departments to try and increase the small business spend. And we are kind of approaching 22% at this point, which is pretty good, but we still have a little bit ways to go. And then covered services, if somebody is new and is not familiar with, that is where we have the state bill and 820 and the contracting code, sorry, not contracting code, but an agreement with AFSCME under Article 5 of the AFSCME's contract that we are supposed to use internal resources for anything that's a covered service. And there are 11 different categories of covered services like janitorial, catering, laundry, the cleaning services, also something of landscaping and the like. This is just a recap for those who may have forgotten what that is. We need to get the labor relations approval to utilize any of those covered services. So we need to work with them to get an exception and to have the wage and benefit parity in place. Having said all that, we just would like to, go ahead and start the training that we actually are here for today. So we are going to go through, and Barbara Neiman is going to talk us through navigating UCIBuy. And then we'll have Jennifer Che, who's going to walk through the PALCard exceptions. We thought that it was important for us to share this with you all so that you all kind of get an understanding of what are the requirements if you were to have an exception that you wanted to ask for, and under what circumstances can we grant an exception. And I will spend some time going over the procurement end-to-end process update. We actually, many of you probably are involved and engaged in, hopefully are familiar with the project that we have embarked in for the last year and a half, and I will give an update on that. With that, I would like to start by introducing Barbara Niemand, who is our e-commerce manager for UCIBuy, and then Jennifer Che and Victoria are the PALCard administrators. And before we get started, we wanted to ask you all a simple question, and we would like you all to provide a response as to which e-procurement platform is our UCIBuy hosted on. And you will kind of understand the reason why we are asking this question when I go through the end-to-end procurement process update. So we would appreciate if all of you could just answer this simple question. Hopefully every one of you know what the answer is, but we just wanted to make sure that that was true.
We still have some people voting. I will end it in just a minute.
Okay. All right. That's a very interesting response. So if you are not familiar with or were not aware of the fact that UCIBuy actually is hosted on the Jagger platform, it's very, very important for you to be aware of that and know that. So thank you for providing your honest response as to what you thought was the platform that we had our ePro and the UCIBuy platform on. So Barbara, take it over and navigate through the UCIBuy/Jagger platform.
Will do. Thank you so much. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, my mouse is stuck. All right, so UCIBuy is our local e-commerce instance. It's branded as UCIBuy, but it is our Jagger instance and has been since 2014, and it's been used primarily for shopping. And we have the ability to only shop goods from the site, but as such, we do not perform services in the site. We do that in KFS. So all approvals and workflows are done in KFS. And in the site, we have a wide variety of contracted suppliers. And those suppliers are essentially consisting of MRO, we have office supplies and computers and peripherals represented, life sciences, all types of suppliers that you'll see in the site shortly. I will go ahead and mention that single sign-on is actually one of the benefits of accessing the site, because there is no need to really remember a username and password for multiple sites. You can just go in, log in, and access all the strategically sourced UC and system-wide agreements. All you need is one username and password. In the site, you can comparison shop, you can track different orders. You can also set favorites for future orders, and you can also track some order history as needed. And the streamlining of the rec comes across in the sense that when you have a requisition that's generated in UCIBuy, the system pre-populates all kinds of fields that allow for streamlining and quick completion of the rec. The catalog pricing is the quote. What's nice about that is that as you're capturing the product description and the pricing through the catalog requisition, it becomes the office of record in essence. And that eliminates the need to have any types of attachments that need to be added to your rec, et cetera. APO, automatic purchase order, is the workflow that is unique to the UCIBuy request. And in essence, any requisitions that are sent through under 5,000 that do not contain any restricted commodities flow through, and they bypass not only the department buyer, but then also bypass central procurement. Out the door they go, and then they're auto-transmitted to the supplier. Orders over 5,000 can be generated. However, they will be, depending on the commodity code, they may route to a commodity reviewer. They will definitely route to a central buyer based on the amount. And again, upon reviews and approvals, then those orders are then also auto-transmitted. UCIBuy Jagger, as Snehal has just pointed out, is the ePro platform. And at UCI, it is also our mechanism for distributing all POs, not just catalog orders, but non-catalog or the KFS recs as well. Next slide. So cost savings. It's important to talk about some of these benefits from contracted suppliers, and cost savings is one of the big benefits. And through the process, we have many suppliers that have negotiated pricing on a lot of different brands and different offerings. And these savings also take place in the form of some types of shipping discounts that, or free shipping or discounted shipping. Many offer free returns, depending on the contract. And then we also have suppliers that have some type of volume discounts available for larger purchases. So it's important to note that it's good to start in UCIBuy to see if they're readily available. We rely heavily on our partnerships and customer support as part of the relationship. Quality assurance standards are very, very important to support research in the campus. And negotiated agreements hold suppliers to certain delivery terms and expedited delivery terms. Many of those are the norm for UCI. We also have many suppliers that offer dedicated account resources to support the campus and the initiatives. In terms of compliance, using contracted suppliers satisfies the small business first policy requirements. And it also satisfies competitive bid requirements for orders 10,000 and over on federal funds, as well as 100,000 and over on non-federal funds. In terms of accountability, you see system-wide agreements hold key performance metrics in place in which we continue to evaluate our suppliers. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we're trying to access UCIBuy, there's a couple different ways. You can see here, there's the ZOT portal, the KFS homepage. You can also access our procurement website. Depending on your preference, just look at the green checkmark access points when you are trying to get in the site. And keep in mind that if you're in a remote hybrid environment, your VPN software connection can be your best friend. So next slide. Okay, so I'm going to transition us to UCIBuy. Okay, so you can see this landing page here. This landing page, Jagger refers to it as a dashboard. And because we have been using Jagger as a shopping tool, this is also known as our shopping dashboard. And when you see here on the left and you go slowly, there is a flyout menu for the key areas that impact our world in UCIBuy. The top bar here, this little button, if you click on it, it will refresh your entire page and resize any of the boxes that may have stretched out. Going over here to the top, we have documents that can be accessed here. Now, keep in mind, the search bar here is for these documents. It's not for product. Often I use this to look up POs, etc. Now, I am in the production side, and I am logged in as Peter the Anteater for the sake of this demo. This would be the cart. It is zeroed out right now. And there are bookmarks, action items, notifications. In current state, those are not relevant. Obviously, we don't do workflow in UCIBuy, but here in your profile, as I am Peter Anteater, you would have my recently completed carts and your orders would appear there. So UCIBuy is organized for ease of shopping. So you have announcements up here. These are real live announcements and something that is affecting our shopping world. And in here, the information changes depending on what needs to be announced, if there's a system downtime or other. You happen to have the ServiceNow portal link should you need to generate a ticket. You can scroll down here. This is your general search bar. I will come back to that. But the areas in blue are associated with shopping. And I'd like to just review that all the different catalog types are broken down into these little things that Jagger likes to call showcases. And they can be collapsed. So depending on the viewer, if you prefer to focus in on your life sciences, which is the bulk of catalogs that support UCI, then that is completely fine. That's just a matter of preference. And we do have different types of catalogs here. I'll get into that all in a minute. I just want to give you the overview of the site. So in green teal, there are procurement related help areas. There are some video tutorials that were recently created as snippets to give shoppers just specific information as they're in the site, perhaps how to print a PO, etc. In the black, there are areas that are about suppliers and any specific things that are happening. Perhaps the contract is going away and we may be removing a supplier, things to look out for. In this area, there are a lot of helpful links. to documents and other information that is often requested. So I encourage you to look there. Procurement help, also related to the above, is used for external links mostly. There's also a list from single sign-on to your action list should you need it. Events and promos here. We obviously have some events and their office hours links. And then down here, sustainable corner, you can see there's more information contained, some of the custom attributes and the favorites folders that exist in the site and how to make more sustainable choices when you're shopping. So that in a nutshell is the overview. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that it was down there because it's a lot and not everybody scrolls to the bottom. So when we're talking about posted and punch out, these are terms that come to they're used throughout the site, and you'll hear me refer to them. And so I just wanted to say in general, it just refers to the way a supplier presents their pricing and makes it available in the site. And the hosted catalog content, that is what drives this general search here. So if I could explain at a really high level, hosted catalog, also known as static, is essentially a huge file, and it's a way that suppliers load all kinds of product detail from pricing, product URLs, image URLs, or links, and all kinds of data about a particular product. And when it's loaded into Jagger, UCIBuy, then it is able to come across to the general public in a more concise, consistent fashion. So you can see here, hopefully you can see that, that all the items, I just entered a dropper bottle in the site, and these are live suppliers. And you can see that because of this consistent format where you have pricing and you have part numbers and all kinds of data behind the scenes, you can go in and see a lot more about a particular product. And that allows for comparison as well. So what I'm going to do here is show you at a high level. There are videos to all of this, so I don't have a lot of time, but you can add certain items as favorites from the screen, and you can also select items to be compared. Now, of note, I am looking at the more modern layout in UCIBuy, but if you prefer this classic layout with the rows, that is available. Personally, my eyes like the bigger format, and UI is a user interface. And so I'm going to just select a couple of these glass bottles for comparison. And it's these little interconnected arrows that I select. And when I do that, usually 2 or 3, no more than 4, because things get really kind of tight, you will see this image come up. And so this gives you a better availability because of all the different details are laid out. And you see units of measure, and you see all kinds of detail, UNSPSC code, which then maps back to our commodity codes and drives workflow, manufacturer name, all kinds of information. That's up to the supplier to load it into that hosted catalog. And if I could also point out here, this supplier row here, these are supplier classes. These are attributes that are created and assigned by the system admin and applied to the supplier based on the nature of the contract and the details. If they're California based, if they have an agreement, if their price includes shipping. So at a level here, you can see whether or not any of these selections will enjoy free shipping. And so Fisher has that, but if you choose any of these 2 items, you can be prepared that shipping will come over on the invoice that comes through to AP. actions that can be taken from this purview. I could select all and add to my cart, or I could be specific. And from here, I could also change the quantity. I need to tell UCIBuy what to do. In this case, I want to add it to my active cart. And that number has just driven up to 501. So I know that it's active. And you can compare all kinds of things. And if you're looking for manufacturer numbers or categories, it's very helpful to use the tools that are available. You can close this filters if you want to broaden the screen. And from the cart, I'd like to point this out really quickly. If I'm in the cart, and you could see those items are there, and I forgot an item, I'd like to search for the item from the cart. There is a general search bar here now, and it will take you back to the landing page or to the search results. In this case, this heart was designated as a personal favorite. I'm going to add it to my cart, and you just keep going. So I'm going to segue to the other way in which suppliers display their pricing. Now we might have some favorites folders set up here. Those are designed as preferred search results. So if you click on there, there's some suggested items. But I want to talk about more of the catalogs that are right here, and namely punch outs. So you'll see some of these supplier icons do not have a plus. This is a hosted catalog. You can access content directly from that supplier by clicking on all, and it will bring up all of their content for review in case you weren't sure. And if you click on the plus sign, this will take you out to the supplier's dedicated site for UCI. And what's interesting is some of these tiles have a gray background. That means that they offer both a dedicated hosted catalog as well as a punch outs, and which is accessible with this link. It'll take you right out to their punch out. The content available in both, you might have things in the punch out that are not necessarily available in the hosted. So I encourage you to take advantage of those suppliers when they offer them, to look for your item if you don't find it in the general search. And then the yellow tiles, they obviously point out our certified small businesses, and that's important to UCI. So you can identify upfront who has what. Now, why would you want to use a punch out? You use a punch out because you want to get either real-time inventory, and I am taking us out to ODP, Office Depot, for a reason. You'll also use a punch out when you need to configure a computer. Perhaps you need different memories, etc., and you have to build it. You have to customize something. Also, if you are doing any sequencing or any configuration whatsoever, the punch outs are a great way to build a product and then have it come over to the supplier with all that configuration detail in the electronic cart, in the electronic coding on the back end. So that's how or why we would use punch outs. ODP used to be Office Depot. Actually, this is the higher education contract, so ODP Business Solutions. And you can see here that their landing page needs a little bit of reformatting with more pictures, but for today's, that's not in place. And what we're going to do is focus in on ODP because they have a new term in their contract where we have a minimum delivery fee of $5.95 for orders under $50. So I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, regardless of how you shop, either here or elsewhere, it will apply. So it's important to be aware of that as you build your cart. And so you can just search at the search bar if you like, enter your item. And in this case, I'm going to pick some Post-it notes. And you see right away that there is a greener option that appears here. So ODP happens to have this green cart functionality turned on. If you click on it, what it does is it provides a more eco-friendly alternative, and it does have a different price. So if you'd like to override your original choice, you select that, replace checked items, and there you are. And we have met the delivery minimum with that order. You could keep building your order, etc. Just want to make sure you're aware of that in real time so that your departments can be sustainable and take advantage of free shipping. So in a punch out, in general, every punch out has its own language, but if we check out or we transfer to cart or we check back to e-procurement system, the concept is the same. We're checking out and we're being driven back to UCIBuy. That is our e-procurement system. And so you can see that ODP items are here. So all punch outs bring you back to UCIBuy cart. That doesn't mean you have to check out. You can continue shopping, go back to your homepage, and view any other catalogs. For the sake of time, I'd like to just run through this. These were hosted catalogs that we shop from. And as such, in the cart, I can make real-time changes and updates. You'll see that fluctuate. And if I wanted to remove an item, I could do that as well if I change my mind. If you zone in here, and hopefully you can see this, there is a contract on the back end that the spend is associated to. So that's all here in the cart on the back end. You'll also see a commodity code. There are times where a supplier has not provided one, and that can be a problem. And that's when you contact me offline. But if it says no value, then it's going to be a problem. But these are all good to go, and as such would successfully or should successfully result in requisitions that are handed off to KFS. Here is the cart name that has already been named by me, UCI Anteater Demo. And so I would proceed to checkout. You'll see here the general information, prepared for, etc., that comes over. These values are nothing you have to worry about. In accounting codes, we don't do any type of accounting workflow or chart of accounts in UCIBuy, so just disregard that. Take a look at your items, review that, and real quickly, this is an opportunity to show you ODP. When you see this little disc here with a line through it, that just means that these items were pulled in from a punch-out catalog. And so this modify is an edit and inspect functionality. Some suppliers have it, others may not. So in order to make changes, if you want to add an item, you click on this, takes you back to the cart, and you make your selections, either change, remove, or other, and then transfer it back again, and you'll come right back here and be able to create your KFS requisition as you desire. When you have multiple suppliers in your cart, keep in mind that individual requisitions, in this case, we have 3 suppliers, will be created on the KFS end. So you'll need to address 3 suppliers. One will open organically in your action list. And I am going to point you to the training guides and all the self-help in UCIBuy to essentially monitor through that. If you need training, etc., it's pretty easy, but I'm not going to go through the details of the KFS rec. Just want you to know that the streamlining part of it is that you don't have to worry about the vendor ID. You don't have to do anything with the description or the first tab. All you have to do is in the items tab and the deliver to, populate key items, submit it into workflow, and then when it's approved, you will see your orders come through. So where will you see your orders? You can look here under my purchase orders. You can see that I don't have any personally that I've created. And when I look, it always defaults to the last 90 days. But I am going to look at all orders. And I want you to see the back end here. I did mention that UCIBuy Jagger is the mechanism that distributes all POs. So you can see here lots of supplier names. This is a KFS PO number. And you'll see some of these vendors have this little icon associated with it. That's an indicator they have a catalog integration. They have a supplier ID in Jagger, and they are readily connected, shall we say. These others that are in caps are non-catalog suppliers. Okay. And then you'll also see some of these have requisition numbers. So catalog suppliers have a UCIBuy Jagger requisition number. Now, KFS is the system of record, but I just want you to see that on the back end, that catalog requisition resulted in a KFS PO. And it's all contained here for easy reference should you need to look things up. And also going to go in and look at something a little bit older, but this Fisher PO is an example. I'm going to click on it. When I click on it, yes, this is a live PO. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to show you here that on a history tab, if you're ever curious whether or not your PO is successfully sent, if it says 200, that means that UCIBuy did its job and the supplier successfully received it. Sometimes contract managers may not pass on the order confirmations as they usually are asked to do or expected to do, but you can go ahead and look up the details of an order, let's say for Fisher, because they have a punch out. You can go into the site, give it a second, under their order status, give it another second. And then here on the left is an example. I'm going to paste that PO number. I'm going to look it up. And then in real time, we see that that PO was received. You drill down into all the different details. There's a lot of items here. Keep in mind that as you expand each item, there may be different delivery times available for all of that. So because not every supplier is sending you items from one warehouse, it's coming from all over the country. Potentially. Best practice is to cancel the punch out to end your session. And then that pretty much gives a real quick overview of all the tools and tricks available. I do encourage you to explore more, live bravely, and try it. Create a requisition in UCIBuy and see how much easier it is for you when you're using one of these contracted suppliers. And that's it for me. I'm going to pass things over to Jennifer Che.
Thank you. So today we're going over PALCard exceptions. So next slide. Thank you, Helen. I just want to let everyone know, though, that these are exceptions that I'm covering. So they're not the rule or they're not the norm. So just please keep that in mind, because I understand that sometimes there are certain exceptions that departments are needed. And so we're covering some of the things, paperwork and different approvals that are needed before we can even grant those exceptions. So when an exception is required, needed because we need this single purchase limit raised, because the vendor will not take a PO and they'll only accept the credit card payments. So first off, you will need a supervisor's approval when a single purchase and sometimes a monthly cycle limit needs to be raised. So for a single purchase limit, usually not so much, but when monthly cycle limit needs to be raised more than what you currently have, let's say it's $10,000, we do need a supervisor's approval, because we do want them to be aware of your spend, because we usually set up the limits for your regular normal spending. So if there is a time where you do need it increased, we do need that approval from your supervisor. And then with some vendors, MCC in the industry, it's merchant category code. So every vendor has a 4-digit MCC code that kind of is related to what they do, whether they're grocery stores or computer store software, whatever. So they have the codes. So with our PALCard program, not all the codes in the world are open, obviously, because we don't want people going to online gambling or pay for hotels or anything like that with PALCard. So we block a lot of these categories. So sometimes you're going to get a decline or with the exception that you need, we need to code the merchant category code open to your account. And another one would be, and this one, in most cases, when anything requires any kind of signature to agree to their terms and conditions or agreement, it needs to be done on a requisition and a PO that processes through the contracts team and during his team. So the only time that we would allow this exception is because they're not accepting any POs, they would only accept the credit card payment. So in those cases, you do need to reach out to our PALCard team first, and then with all the details and all the justifications and everything, and then we will forward it to the contracts team and work with them to review, redline, or do any changes or edits. And then once they get it all signed by all the parties that need to sign, and then it will come back to us, and then we'll be able to either raise the limits or code and do all that stuff to allow that exception. And also for over 10K on non-federal funds, small business first policy applies. So a certified small business should be, try to find one to use that is already certified as a small business, or we would need to have the exemption category defined, or you would need to process a waiver that Doreen in our office would review and sign off. And then the next one, for over, So for when it's over 10K, but it's on federal funds, same documentation is required for as a PO, like SSPR, debarment check, and all that. So those would be the exception items that we need before we could even grant any exception on PALCard. Next slide, please. And then these are categories or commodities that would need pre-approvals from other central offices. So for ergonomic items such as a desk riser, I use this as an example because that comes up really frequently, more than any others. And so they can be sometimes from Amazon Business or other online vendors. So those will need an EH&S ergonomics review and approval. That'll be Belinda or Thomas, but you could email safety@uci.edu and they'll make sure it goes to the right people. So they'll review, they need to know not only specific things that you want to order, but also they might need to do evaluation of the users for the desk space and everything. So that's why an ergonomics review is required before it comes to us for us to make that exception. And then another one that comes up is canopies and tents. So they require the EH&S's fire marshal's team's review and approval for fire retardant fabric and things like that. So prior to making exception on PALCard from these online vendors, please email safety@uci.edu so you can get all those approvals. And when you get those approvals up front and then you send it to us, things will go a lot faster for us to grant that exception. And then the last one I'm covering here is an inventory of equipment that's over $5,000. So those purchases should be on a high value PO. So we're only making this exception when, same thing again, vendors only accept the credit card payments, they won't accept the PO. In that case, I would like you to go ahead and contact Helen Chang in equipment management in our office for an exception. So she'll review. And then PALCard team will monitor the capital asset object codes, because in the PCDO, you'd have to use the right object code. There are 9,000 ones, there's about 4 or 5 different ones, depending on the scenario. So those object code is what routes the PCDO to the equipment reviewer in Helen's team. So you need to make sure you use the fiscal officers and reconciler needs to make sure that those correct object codes are used on those so that they'll get to them and then they'll assign a tag number. And then, so you can email Helen Chang at uci.edu. So that was my kind of a short presentation. I think we have a Q&A and sorry, I'm gonna turn it over to Snell as he has end-to-end process update. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara and Jennifer, for sharing some of the insights with regards to your areas. We actually only have 10 minutes left, so I probably will run through this very, very quickly and leave at least 5 minutes for Q&A. I know we already have 3 questions in the chat that we might want to answer. So just to give everybody a quick overview, we actually have been looking at the end-to-end procurement process for 1.5 years now, as I had mentioned. We started this project in 2023 because we absolutely recognize that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the system itself and the process. And as we know, many departments have their own internal processes for the requisitioning or the pre-requisitioning phase of the project or of the purchase. And we were starting to get a lot of complaints about the process being inefficient. So we actually decided to look at the whole end-to-end process, and DFA as a whole division actually asked procurement to really focus on their processes and see what we need to do to create efficiencies in the process. And of course, to help improve the customer experience. So we went through a pretty detailed review of the current processes at some of the units as a representation for all the other departments, and came up with and did the discovery and analysis, and then developed an action plan on how we are going to go ahead and implement any changes. During the discovery phase, not a surprise, many of you probably would acknowledge and agree with the findings that we had, that we definitely don't have the systems that actually help us get the procurement done from end to end, from the beginning of the time when somebody is requesting something to the time the PO is sent to the suppliers. The workflows are all fragmented. In fact, we don't even have a whole lot of workflows built into KFS except for a couple of ones. And therefore, all the requirements that we have and the compliance we have is happening outside the KFS or the UCIBuy Jagger platform. And email has been our primary way of communicating. Obviously, not being able to see where things are in the system also has been a big challenge, because everybody is like wanting to know where things are, and they are not able to do that. Also, we are finding out that various departments have different folks available and using the systems and doing the purchases. So there is very little role clarity. And all of this is resulting in a very poor end user experience. Okay, and of course, the reason why we are having this training is because all the turnovers, there is little challenge we have with regards to the experience and knowledge in the departments. So having found all that, we actually embarked into a design phase to figure out what should be our future state processes look like. And we really developed a new process map that we thought would really make processes streamlined. While we are doing that, and when we evaluated the various possibilities, one of the things we're looking at is we are looking at updating KFS and making changes to the KFS to improve the workflow. But at the same time, we are also looking at other systems available in the market. And we looked at the Jagger's requisitioning manager, the module in Jagger that is available. And now you see the reason why we asked you the question, whether you knew whether UCIBuy was on what platform, because now we have the opportunity to actually have all of our purchases that are catalog purchases or non-catalog purchases be processed on one system. And that would be the Jagger system that we are going to implement. Because when we compared between KFS updates we needed to make and Jagger's requisition manager, we realized that the time it was going to take was about the same. Of course, it's going to cost us to buy the requisition manager in Jagger, but we figured that the efficiencies we will gain and the process improvements we'll be able to implement are significantly greater by going with one system that helps all purchases across all various departments on the campus. So that's where we are going to go. We actually have started the project. We actually had our kickoff meeting last week, and we are starting to develop and design our new system that's going to be on the Jagger platform. While we are going through all of this, and this is going to take about a year to implement, we actually realized that we also had a lot of lack of visibility between the OIT data security team, the privacy team, and procurement team. And the departments were not able to know where things stood. So we actually are now having a weekly review meeting with the OID data security team, privacy team, risk services, campus council, and us to go over all the pending requests, either it be stuck in data security or in the POs that are over 30 days, and try to really focus on those and monitor those and try to help get those pushed through and approved. And we have made significant improvements in our aging POs over the last 6 to 8 months. And that's going to continue until we don't have any pending POs that are past 30 or 60 days. While we are doing all these changes in the system, we are also obviously focusing on change management. We're going to make sure that everybody is fully aware and up to date on what changes are coming, how it's going to impact them. We intend to have weekly meetings with all the various units on campus, take their inputs, understand how they're actually processing it, what resources they have available, how the changes are going to impact them. And we are also going to expand the knowledge management, so create training materials that's talking about the procurement policies, how the new system is going to work, and how end users are going to be impacted by it. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is a very high-level overview of the timeline. I am not going to go into the details of it because I see I already took 6 minutes. But essentially, you will see here that it's almost a year-long project. It's going to take quite a while for us to actually build all the interfaces between Jagger and KFS, which is going to be the longest lead time. But in the meantime, we are also going to then work on all the various change management aspects that I talked about, just to make sure that everybody is ready to embrace the change. And the survey we had conducted earlier on during our analysis phase and the design phase actually let us know that 75% plus departments and units were ready for the change. And hopefully those that are about to be ready, we'll get them ready in the next year. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so this is a very high-level organizational structure for the project itself, for implementing the requisitioning manager. So, it's just basically our CFO, Vice Chancellor Mary Lou Ortiz is the sponsor. We have a steering committee that's going to help with any decision making. We have Beatrix, who has been assigned as the project manager from UCI. And then we have the technical teams, functional teams, and change management teams that's going to be working on the project over the next year. And we want to kind of just share all the various teams that have, or the folks that have been working on this project for the last year and a half. And we want to thank and acknowledge everybody who has been part of this process and will continue to support the project for the upcoming year. But here's the details of all the folks that are in the various teams that I mentioned. And that's about it. And of course, all the resources, we'll be sharing this presentation with all of you so you can take a look at it. Here are all the resources, and please feel free to fill out the survey. We always encourage you to fill out the survey so we know what your needs are, how we can help you and support you better. Having gone through that in a nutshell, actually, it's only a minute left for Q&A. Can we very quickly go through the questions?
So given that we only have a minute left, and to just respect everyone's time here, Barbara started answering some of the questions that were in the chat. Thank you, Barbara, for doing that. And then I think we're gonna have to also try to take the questions offline. So if you have questions for the team and for any of the topics that were brought up today, including UCIBuy, and then PALCard exceptions, as well as any of the end-to-end procurement project improvement updates, feel free to reach out to us so that we can connect offline regarding that.
And this is a good opportunity for you to actually take your questions and bring them to the office hours that we have every other week. And, we will make sure to answer those questions during the office hours. So if everybody's interested in getting the answers to these questions, please come to the office hours. I believe it's on next Tuesday, upcoming Tuesday.
That's correct.
That's correct. So on the 3rd of September at 9 o'clock. Let's make sure we capture all these questions that are in the chat and the answers so we can go over it in details on Tuesday.
Okay, well, we are at time. So thank you everyone for participating, and we look forward to connecting with you all again soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.